The Anu are a race of extraterrestrial beings that came to your world hundreds of thousands of years ago. And without going too much more deeply into the story than what we have already imparted to you, suffice to say, the Anu, or as many of you refer to them in ancient text as the Anunnaki, were responsible for infusing their genetic material into the naturally evolved hominid species on your planet that you often refer to as Homo erectus and various similar types of early human form. And with the infusion of their DNA into Homo erectus, thus created what you now consider yourselves to be as Homo sapien, human. Now, the second word, Vikwadesh, is a reference to this early hominid form, Homo erectus as you call it. In the ancient tongue, Vikwa means seed. Desh means template. So it is the seed template that was used to create Homo sapien. The initial manifestation in the ancient tongue, Adama, again translated in some of your stories as the idea of Adam. The idea then, as related metaphorically in some of your early literature, your religious literature, your early scrolls and texts, the idea of the creation of the female form by the utilization of the early male form of Adama to create the female representation of the Eva, or Eva, or Eve. The idea being that this represents, no offense, gentlemen, but the Eva represents the first hybridization upgrade of the human form. I know that many of the females in the audience are pleased to hear this. Therefore, with the Adama and the Eva, you then had the basic idea of the male and female human forms. It does not mean that there were not female forms in the Vikwadesh, in the Homo erectus. Just that the way in which the female Homo sapien was created by the Anu utilized the initial template of the Adama to make sure that it would be, as you say in your language, a hybridization upgrade. Now, once that existed, once the human forms existed in what you recognize as your present male and female forms, and the human race began to flourish and replicate and spread, remember that we have told you the story of another parallel Earth reality that destroyed their world, and that the humans on that world became mutated into the form you call the Greys. And because they had mutated in such a way, hybridized themselves in such a way to be able to survive on their destroyed version of Earth, they were no longer able to reproduce. And they knew that they would die out if they did not seek out somehow, somewhere, a viable source of still existing human DNA. They use their advanced technology, as we have told you before, to tunnel into various parallel reality versions of Earth, including yours, to find viable human DNA, to infuse with themselves to create hybrid civilizations that would allow their culture to continue and not die out. But the idea of the early Grey, in a sense, because it was something that was created that changed them into a form that could adapt to their dying world, in a sense, is the first hybrid race. The Greys in the ancient tongue are the Maz-eh. The Maz-eh are what came into your parallel reality and began the hybridization agenda. So the Maz-eh, the Greys, formed the first hybrid race. The first hybridization level or phase that followed the Maz-e, or gray beings, is what we call the Mazani. These are what many people in these encounters have recognized as the tall grays. So they are the next stage of hybridization from the grays that began to incorporate human DNA and allowed them to begin to change to something a little bit closer to resembling the idea of a hybrid that could continue their species. But it still was not sufficient for a number of reasons. But they were the second hybrid race and, in a sense, phase one of the hybridization agenda. After that came our civilization, the Sathani. So we are the third hybrid race. We are representative of a 50-50 balance between the grays, the Maz-e, and the humans on your world and other worlds like yours. We are physically and representationally halfway between the grays and what you consider yourselves to be as Homo sapien. We are here, as you can see, to share information with you because we are family, we are genetically connected. You are in many ways our ancestors, and we are your descendants, and we will get to that point a little bit more deeply in a moment. The next phase is what was called the Shah-Yael. This is something that is a little bit more human in appearance, but still containing various aspects of what you consider to be hybrid beings. They still have much larger eyes than you. They are relatively slender like us, but a little bit more toward the human form that you are familiar with. Now, the Shah-Yael, the fourth hybrid race, act in many ways as guides for the fifth hybrid race, the Yael, who are much more human-like, and that's why they are going to be the first hybrid species of the 5 hybrid races that would have open contact with your civilization. They look more or less human. They may still exhibit a few of the ideas of hybrid traits that would make them a little bit different than what you consider a normal or natural human to look like. But nevertheless, the fourth hybrid race, the Shah-Yael, will act in a sense as guides and organizers to help with the agenda of acclimatization for the Yael to be able to interact with your world when open contact begins. So they are working very closely together that way. What follows the Yael is what has been termed the Shah-Lanaya, which in the ancient tongue is the first ones. The first ones being what you typically refer to as the hybrid children that live on the ships that will ultimately be returned to Earth to live among you and begin the process of allowing Earth to blend into and evolve into the sixth hybrid race eventually. This is what we refer to as the next word in the list, the Anunnaki. Now, we have initially told you that our ancient word for earth is Inanni, which basically means the ancestors, but more specifically, it was in its ancient form more Nadea, Inanika, which means the place of the ancient mothers. Again, that's a more literal translation, which has now been condensed over time simply into Ananika, which is the ancestor spirits. But in this case, spirit, not only representing the idea by the word ka of what you consider normal spirit to be, but also the idea of essence. And in this case, a literal reference to DNA. So it is the idea of the ancestor DNA and that which will allow there to be a blending, a harmonization, and a continuing of evolution for Earth to become the sixth hybrid race. Now, we have previously also told you that there would be ultimately a seventh hybrid race that would be a blending of all the other 6. This will be a new type of being that will represent a very different way of existing in physical reality that will exhibit many traits of spirits and other dimensions, will have an interesting expression of power and passion and peace, that will explore and unify many different star systems, many different galaxies in time. So Earth is forming the last foundational component for the seventh hybrid race, which on the list is referred to as Het, or Anu Het, which means they are the conclusion of the cycle, the grand cycle that was begun by the Anunnaki and ends with the Anu Het, and brings forth a new species, as we said, of power, passion, and peace. Now, this all goes toward the understanding of the real transformation that's taking place on your planet. This entire cycle is really what the transformation is all about. This upgrade, this uplift, this ascension into new forms, new expressions of great power and passion and peace and benefit and creativity and unconditional love that can ignite a new wave of experience and a new series of civilizations within your star system, other star systems, and the galaxy and other galaxies. This is the beginning of a new cycle with the Anu Het, a new form of the Anunnaki for a different purpose of expanding creation in a new and unique way, in a much broader way, in a much more expanded way. And this then brings us to be capable this day of explaining to you that in terms of our gifts of sharing information with you, this is the true gift that we bring you. Because by being able to share with you all of these different principles and help you understand the nature and structure of existence in the form that we have expressed it as a type of instruction manual and tool kit that allows you to more easily apply these principles in your physical reality and make the kinds of positive and powerful changes that you wish to make in your lives. The real gift is that because we noticed that your planet was heading down the same path as the alternate Earth that destroyed themselves and turned into the Greys, the Maz-E, the real gift is that in giving you this information, which the other world did not have, the other Earth did not have, with this information, you get to skip all the intervening phases, the Maz-E, the Maz-Ani, the Sasani version of yourselves, the Shayayel, the Yayayel, the Shalanaya. You get to go straight from the idea of being human into being Enani-Ka, the uplifted version of yourselves, skipping over literally thousands of years of necessary evolution. That's the gift that we're actually giving to you by sharing this information with you, to highly accelerate your ability to become the sixth hybrid race without going through what that alternate version of Earth went through in creating or needing to create all those different phases to bring themselves back into balance, back into center. You can skip all of that by applying the information we share with you. That is our gift to you. So, this is, as we have said, the general window of open contact will be sometime, as we read the energy now, between your years of 2025 and 2033. And toward the ending of that window, you will find there will be a high degree of acceleration in the comings and goings of extraterrestrial beings. As we have said, you will be given more information about your true history on Earth, all the way back to Lemurian times, even further back, when there were other civilizations on your planet that you know absolutely nothing about. And from Lemurian into Atlantean times, into Egyptian times, into the idea of what you now consider to be your modern history, many, many bits of information that have been lost to you will be brought back to you by those who have observed your planet for eons and know exactly the history that you have all forgotten. And bringing back that history and changing those history books will allow you to really open up to a bigger understanding of your place in galactic history and how you fit in vibrationally to the idea of creation and what it is you have chosen for yourselves to perpetuate, what it is you have chosen for yourselves to experience, what parts you are playing in this galactic play that you may have forgotten that you chose to play. And as you go through that awakening and begin to experience technological marvels on your planet and begin to move out into the stars, as we have said, you yourselves will then begin to interact with other civilizations that don't know about a lot of these things, and you will become their mentors. You will become their guides. You will get the practice of interacting with other civilizations in a way of having first contact with them in the same way that we have first contact with you and other civilizations. You will become their UFOs. And they will look up into the sky and see your ships, and they will have their discussions and their dialogues about their relationship to you and their relationship to the stars, and you will guide them along this path as we are guiding you, and others came before you, and others came before us. And you will take your place in that.
So can you tell us more about the mantis beings?
They are the overseers of the hybridization program. Because the Greys, at one point, decided that they had to give up their emotionality and become a hive mentality in order to accomplish the task, because it was so large. They knew they needed someone to guide them. And so, in a sense, the mantis beings were, well, I'll use your word, hired to guide them. So the mantis beings are the overseers of the hybridization program.
I see. So
they had to give up their emotionality to reclaim their emotionality in the hybrids.
And how are they assisting humanity with that project?
Am I assisting you?
Yes.
Then you know.
Perfect. Thank you.
Because my civilization is one of the hybrid civilizations that resulted from the hybridization agenda.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
We are helping to make sure, of course it's your choice, you do not go down the same path that the Greys went down when they were humans on a parallel Earth where they destroyed their reality.
Got it.
Remember that the Greys are mutated humans. They're not aliens.
Can you give us, I guess, a step-by-step example of what the process might look like of actually becoming, I guess, a caretaker of a hybrid child from when we first meet them to everyday interaction?
At first, these sanctuaries will be somewhat isolated, and only a few humans will be allowed to interact according to the hybrid children's agenda as to what they feel comfortable or important in terms of the way that they should interact with humans at that time. Humans will synchronistically be attracted in small numbers to these sanctuaries, and over time the numbers will grow as humans and hybrids become more comfortable and familiar with one another.
Hybrid children genetically and physiologically equipped to procreate with each other and humans so they can continue to develop newer species from that procreation.
Yes.
Very interesting. Okay. And I also had a question about what they can...
One moment. One of the children said, "Is he asking about our sex life?" And I said, "Yes, he is." And they said, "Okay." Do continue.
So I've heard that what the hybrid children consume is like basically raw organic fruit juices or vegetable juices.
For the most part, yes.
And from my understanding, these foods have high biophotonic resonance,
Yes.
and that is what is basically charging their cellular regeneration.
Also, the electromagnetic field, which helps amplify those things within the natural ingredients, yes.
Okay, and isn't it important for individuals like ones that are here to also consume things like that for their own cellular harmonization?
Depends upon the individual. Sometimes they may need other things depending upon their process and their path. In general, though, overall, your species is lightening up and therefore losing the urge to consume things that are of a denser vibration. So eventually, yes. But it doesn't mean you have to force yourself to do that if it's not really comfortable for you yet.
What are the lives of the hybrid children on the ships? Like, how do they spend their day?
Well, they do many different kinds of things. Of course, they are in instruction because, again, they are being taught many different things, not only of your world, but of many other worlds. They are being taught about the universe, but they also play. They also invent their own games. They also interact with many different kinds of beings. They also do their own explorations. They visit other worlds from time to time. They sometimes, again, when appropriate, may spend a little time on your planet, brief periods of time to help them acclimate. But they're not confined to the ships by any means.
Well, how do they get from location to location?
Again, they may be taken on ships.
Okay.
Sometimes they also go through what you would recognize as simulations of other worlds.
So when are the children coming to the planet? Can you reiterate that again?
Again, the strongest window is toward the end of the open contact window, closer to the year of 2033.
Okay.
But this is not definitive yet, because there are many things that yet need to happen on your planet to determine the exact timing.
So you know how in the abduction phenomenon, people are in a dream state. They seem to go through some sort of physiological translation to be able to go on the ship.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is that similar to how the hybrid children might drop in periodically and then leave, or is that even happening?
Yes, although their vibrational state contains within it the potential to shift to your vibration a little bit more readily.
And so it's more like a lucid dream
No,
reality?
it's more solid than that.
It's more solid than that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, but they have popped in periodically?
Some of them have, and some of them have literally spent time on your planet in those dwellings that are set aside for them to practice living among you. They will, in a sense, play house. Do you understand?
Yes.
They will do many of the things that you do to see how they relate to those things and how they can get used to those things. And then they will make up their own minds as to what is relevant for them to participate in. So when they do join you, you will find that some of them may do some of the same things that you do, and some of them may not do many of those things. You may find hybrid children will simply never watch a TV show with you. You may find that a hybrid child may never eat with you. And some of them will want to eat with you all the time. Some of them will really want to investigate the idea of those TV shows. It depends on the child. It depends on what it is they believe they are getting out of it, what they are learning. So it will take some getting used to on both sides. But they will have their own attractions. They will know what path they need to walk. And it will be a journey that you can all take together that will be very instructional in both directions and will open you up to more understandings and more perspectives of things as you open them up to more understandings and perspectives of things.
It seems like they are growing up in a group setting where they are all with other children, lots of other children, more of a communal
more often
kind
than not,
of environment.
but again, they are sometimes left to their own devices to learn how to function as an individual.
As far as when the hybrid children do come here,
Yes.
are any of these entities, any of these other life forms on our planet going to step up and be teachers to them? Because maybe I have the wrong impression, but I see entities such as the nature spirits and
Yes.
that they would, in a way, because they are ancient energy forms, that they might actually come forward and be teachers to the hybrid children.
Yes, this is why it's expressed in the idea that is the story that was created about Willa Chrissing, where the idea of future hybrids constantly interact with nature spirits in different forms. They can perceive them. They have the senses to perceive them, and the nature spirits understand that and present themselves to them. And there can be an exchange of information. It's not just about the nature spirits teaching the hybrids. the hybrids have things to share with the nature spirits as well.
So I think the last thing I wanted to ask about was the sixth hybrid race.
Yes.
Since this planet is so filled with so much life, is there something from all spectrums of life, like the nature spirits and the whales and the dolphins? Are they also a part of the sixth hybrid race?
Well, in a sense, we are being general and specific when we say that, because we're actually talking about the evolution of what you consider to be humanity when we talk about the sixth hybrid race. But again, remember, you're shifting to different versions of Earth in which that already exists, and in which all the life on that version of Earth plays a part in harmony with the concept of the evolutionary progression.
For women who have had abortions,
Yes.
are there sometimes hybrid children involved in that?
Sometimes. Usually they will be taken out before that will happen.
So it's not like they're removed energetically at one
They are
level.
removed physically.
And
So in other words, a woman who may find herself unexpectedly pregnant may then suddenly find herself unexpectedly not, because the child has been removed and taken to the ship.
you know, yes, I guess I have heard those scenarios before. It just, one thing that comes to me is there was a movie that was from the 50s, and it was called Children of Village of the Damned.
We understand the context.
And was that like a fear-based, what is this? Why
it was a
was
fear-based
that?
interpretation of someone who actually tapped into the fact that you do have hybrid children. It's just that they then couched it in terms of your 1950s horror movie.
And so probably a lot of people who are hybrid mothers actually saw that when they were children.
Yes.
So it was just part of the process of getting over our fear of these children that are more advanced than us, that seemingly telepathic.
Yes.
And hopefully they won't be mean, right?
They will not. They will not have glowing eyes, and they will not be mean little children. No. That was, again, just the interpretation of the times.
Okay, because it seems like it is reflecting some of the things that humans may have concerns about, with the children, because they're more advanced.
But this is why the program is going at the pace that it's going, so that there is acclimatization, so that you can get used to each other, so that you understand there is nothing to be afraid of, so that you understand that these are your children, they are your family, and you are theirs. And you will have a very different interpretation and a very different experience now in what you call your 21st century.
I started to see like these three beings. They were kind of transparent, and they had like, the big eyes and the big head. But once that happened, I became so fearful, it just completely stopped.
Yes, but you can get used to this knowing that it's your choice too to experience this, because you're part of the agenda that allows you to know that you exist between two worlds.
Yes. Yes. And afterwards, I just started to see a lot of vibrant colors. I started to do things I never thought I could again.
Yes, you'd been upgraded vibrationally. You'd been aligned vibrationally.
So I was wondering, like, who these beings were. What kind of connection do I have with them?
Do you understand the hybridization agenda?
Sort of, yes.
All right. Well, they were quasi-gray beings, but in a slightly altered state, in between your reality and theirs, which is where they brought you. As we often say, many of these encounters happen in a slightly altered vibrational reality other than what you consider to be your physical reality. It still has traits of physicalness, but it's not your particular dimension. Many people are brought there because it's easier to help align people vibrationally in that particular state. So they understood that you needed some alignment. They were willing to help with that because you're part and parcel of their particular project as well.
Okay. So would that mean I would have hybrid children?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Is there a way I could connect with them more?
Yes. Use your imagination. When you think of the idea of hybrid children, how do you feel?
Nurturing.
All right. Then anytime you go into a meditative state and allow yourself to express that nurturing energy, that can form a stronger connection for you to any of them.